In a New York Times article entitled Googling for God, Seth Stevens Davidowitz wrote, "It has been a bad decade for God, at least so far. Searches questioning God's existence are up. Porn searches are up 83%. For heroin, it's 32%. How are the Ten Commandments doing? Not well. Love thy neighbor is the most common search with the word neighbor in it. But right behind at number 2 is neighbor porn. The top Google search including the word God is God of War, a video game. It's been a tough decade for God, and his church has not fared well either. The church that Jesus founded on his compassion and grace has at times failed to even resemble its founder. Celebrity pastor scandals, abuses in the Catholic Church, political hijacking, indifference to the humanitarian crises of our day, including refugees, racism and environmentalism, materialism, and complacency, have caused many to leave the church. I carry some cultural shame in this moment as a pastor. When I meet people and they ask what I do, I fumble for how to respond. I used to say witty and impressive things like, I am a consultant that specializes in helping the largest nonprofit on earth be more effective at caring for the poor and alleviating human suffering. Now I just tell them I am a pastor, and they often reply with a strained, "Oh," and shuffle off to a less awkward conversation. I've sat over coffee with countless people, some of whom until recently were parishioners of mine, who say they cannot continue to be associated with Christianity after some of the things they have seen Christians say and do. I've seen and felt the change in the church's reputation, and I've been embarrassed by my fellow Christians' behavior more than once. Yet no matter our disgust at the church's failure, Christ himself must feel the most grief. How can a community founded on enemy love be guilty of such distortions? Nietzsche once said, "Better songs they would have to sing to make me believe in their Redeemer. More redeemed would his disciples have to appear." At this point in history, with so much abuse, I'm not sure that would even do the job. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot." Matthew 5:13. In our world at large, opinion seems to have crystallized. We are being thrown out. We are being trampled underfoot. In Malachi 2:3, God stated this with even more strength. "Because of you I will rebuke your descendants. I will smear on your faces the dung from your festival sacrifices, and you will be carried off with it." Our failures have left us with dung on our faces, wiped there by God, so we get a sense of the stench we have become in the world. Is there any hope for a church dealing with so much brokenness? There is hope. Each generation of believers is given an opportunity to tell the story of Jesus through the local church. Regardless of our history, we get to put the brilliance of Jesus on display. I have written this book to try to stir your faith that God can again use his people to bear witness to his rule and reign. I want to kindle your faith into flame, so you will believe that your life can become what Jesus calls it to be. I believe that the time for a rejection of apathy and hopelessness is at hand. The Spirit still hovers over the darkness and chaos in your life, waiting to create something beautiful and compelling. All great revivals have taken place in times of decline. Resurrection is found among the dead. I want to call you to resist compromise when your friends tell you your faith is too intense, your devotion unnecessary, your life together too much. In this audio program, we will contrast things that make for brokenness and things that make for beauty. I will challenge you to look into your heart and evaluate how you perhaps have been complicit in underplaying the gospel. I'll give you advice, tested in my own life and congregation, for starting to make the journey back to conviction in key areas where we have made compromises. The joy and satisfaction that come from being faithful to Christ will always be richer than the mere ease that comes from drifting along the cultural currents. I will seek to show you the joys and challenges that come when resistance rises in your heart and formation begins to happen. Together, we will examine the depth of the brokenness and seek the antidote. We will examine the contrast in forces and fight for a way forward. May we take up Bonhoeffer's posture of defiance on the river that day in 1937. May our vision of life together and faithfulness in following Jesus be a seed of hope in your life and in the life of our longing world.